This was from Rich's morning newsletter. And Renee, this is something you brought up last week. This was the MLB quarter of the season study done. And we talked about how Kyle Schwarber's bat speed was the best in baseball. He just swings really fast all the time, regardless. Rich in his morning newsletter, and if you're not subscribed to it, it is phenomenal. Go to allphly.com. It's free. You don't even have to be a diehard to get it, although we recommend you do become a diehard because I promise you we'll make it worth your while. We got to hang out with some diehards on Friday night, actually. But this is the rest of the study, how it applies to the Phillies in Rich's morning newsletter. So we all know that Kyle Schwarber is the hardest swinging bat in baseball. And, that top 12 list we went through, Renee, I mean, they were all great players. So there is a correlation between bat speed and being a really good baseball player. As Rich points out, here's the other 2 positives, 1 negative. Bryson Stott showed up in the study as well. On the other end of the swing spectrum, Stott pokes a good 0-2 pitch on the outside of the plate. Stott's average bat speed is 67.1%. 214th out of 220 qualified hitters. His fast swing percentage, 0.5%, 218th out of 220 hitters. So he is on the low end of the spectrum, whereas Kyle Schwarber's on the high end of the spectrum. But situationally, Bryson Stott is, putting the ball in play, going with where the pitch is, and he's slowing it down. So it's funny to see the strikeout fast speed correlation with Schwarber, and then the slow bat speed, good 2-strike hitting with Stott.
Yeah, it tracks with exactly what you would expect before looking at the math, which is one guy swinging fast and hard as hell,
but he
missing
connects,
a lot,
ball go
and
boom.
also sending, making the ball go boom. And another guy who just works great at bats and can foul off 9 pitches in a row. Before and Stott gets his share of home runs too.
Yeah, he does. Clutch ones.
Yeah. So there's different ways to have success. I happened to catch an interview with, I forget the guy's name, but one of the people helping implement the new Statcast measurement of what the bat is doing, and he said, this is one data point. It's just like any other stat or anything. Like it's just like velocity for a pitcher could be good, could be helpful, but you have to take it into account. Do they know where the ball's going?
Sure.
Or in this case, do they know where
it's like Randy Johnson versus Greg Maddux. Choose your fighter. Who cares? They're both really good.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not necessarily, a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you see somebody towards the bottom of that list. But if it's at the top of the list like Schwarber, it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah. And guys, there's the old baseball saying, quick to the zone, long through the zone.
Yeah.
And it's about getting the bat plane to the zone quickly and being able to, I don't want to say lag or drag through the zone because that has this moniker of negativity.
I always call it go with a pitch.
But there is a sense of quick to the zone, long through the zone, to the point you guys were talking about Bryson Stott being low. Do you guys know who the lowest average bat speed amongst qualified hitters is this year?
Well, Bryson Stott's close.
He's not on the Phillies, clearly.
He's not on the Phillies.
Mickey Moniak.
No.
Someone surprising.
I don't even know if he's. I don't even know if he makes it. To be honest with you, it's Luis Arraez, who, by the way, has an 8.8% whiff rate on the season. 8.8% whiff rate.
Wow.
Meaning he's not missing pitches. So there is value to being able to have bat head speed, bat head control through the zone, even if it's not necessarily this just whip. Vicious Kyle Schwarber, Giancarlo Stanton, Bryce Harper type of swing.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Hypothetical man in the chat got it. Nice job there with
great job,
Luis Arraez.
I was gonna say, I just think that it's another metric, and as we all know, there's value in having more analytics and data that you can break down to be able to tweak things. And as we know, someone like Bryson Stott versus Kyle Schwarber, what works for them is going to be different. But you can at least, when you can correlate the bat speed to, all these other metrics of, how your at-bats are overall, I like the value that it brings just to be able to look at something different. And that list in general, the top 10 is very surprising. But as you guys mentioned, the bottom group is also too, because it's not necessarily a direct reflection of they're not giving good at-bats, their whiff rate is high, things like that. It's just they're a different type of batter, essentially.